Okay, so never use a hydraulic jack, use a threaded jack. That means that there's a thread to raise the car and lower it. This is actually a threaded jack. It looks a little bit like a hydraulic jack, but it's not. So just wind it up. If you use a hydraulic jack, you're working under the car, you can swing around and bump the release mechanism and the car will drop. Always use jack stands, so you lift the car up, you put the jack stand under and you lower the car so that it sits onto the jack stand. Always chock the wheels that aren't being lifted, like how I've done at the back there. Do your securement properly, because just up the road here there was a young bloke and he died. His mum went to tell him his dinner's ready and he didn't come, so she went around and she found him under the car. So be careful working under cars. So this video is just making sure that the brake pads have got enough grip, or enough brake pad thickness. It's not about replacing the brake pads. When you get a new car, the first thing I do with a new car is I attempt a wheel change on the front and rear, just to make sure that I've got everything I need, and what I don't have I go and get. So I've got the jack under the car now. A golden tip is when you check your tyre pressures around your car or your truck, also do the spare. Don't forget the spare. Okay, the wheel's still on the ground, and I'll just loosen off these lug nuts now. If you're a female, just go and grab yourself a bloke off the side of the street. It looks like he's capable, and he'll loosen these off for you. Okay, so they're loose, and now I'll go and get the car up off the ground so that the tyre's no longer on the ground. Okay, so this is my car, but I've never actually inspected the brake pads yet. The rotors, that's the rotor, and that looks to be in good condition. I'm not worried about a few little ripples there, it doesn't matter. So that's a brake caliper. Simply when you put your foot on the brake pad, on the brake pedal, it pushes a type of watery oil or brake solution, pushes those two pads together, and what they do is they just go like that, and they grip the rotor and stop your car. That's brake fluid, and that's what's in your line. So you put your foot on the brake pedal, and it pushes this solution into the caliper, and the caliper pushes the brake pads in toward the brake rotor. That's the brake rotor. So now to check the brake pad depth, we simply look into here. I'm going to have to get a light and inspect how much brake pad's still left. You can see the outside of the brake pad there. I don't know whether or not this is going to show up on video, but it seems as if my brake pads are worn. You may be able to see down there that there's really doesn't seem to be much brake pad left. In fact, it looks like only about 3mm. Okay, so while you're working on the vehicle, always check around, make sure everything's still secure, and if you find that you should do something to make the vehicle more secure, then do so. Never get underneath here, always try and work from the top, because if this falls, it'll fall right onto the ground. Okay, I've lifted the brake caliper up. I've got it tied down so that it won't drop down. Alright, let's have a look at the brake pads. Oh, they're good. Yeah, they're good. Okay. Yeah, I don't need to take them off. You can see there, that's the brake pad. And there's plenty of brake pad there. This is the metal bit. Yeah, that's good. It'll be same on the other side, I think. I suppose before you did the work, you could turn the wheel so that this was sticking out, and you know you're able to better work around this area here. But yeah, you can see there that that's about 5mm of brake pad there. And same on the other side, so that's all good. To remove the pads, you simply just slide them right out, like so. So that's a 1995 Holden Rodeo or isuzu pickup brake pad. Just so maybe you can find them on eBay or somewhere. Okay, to install the new ones, you might just have to get a there's a little pin or a little holder, just bend it back and it just goes straight back on. When you put your foot on the brake, that's the bit that comes out and squeezes the brake pads onto the rotor. Yeah, so take your time, it should all work. Shouldn't be any issues with this with changing the brake pads. So I'll just put on the bolt now. The head of the bolt's fairly small, so you have to make sure you've got the socket positioned properly. Never get any oil or paint or anything on the actual rotor itself. Okay, you know, take some time, be careful, check everything over, make sure everything's back in place, that the bolts are back in place. You got your disc in, the calipers sitting properly, nothing on the rotor, it's all good. So I'll put the wheel back on. Also a good idea just to make sure that there's no parts around where you've been working, parts that should be put back on the brake system. Somebody's put grease on the nut threads. I think it's a good idea. It seems to be working really well. So these nuts have got a V in at the end here, and that V, this V's out, this V's in, and it just winds in, and the two V's lock in together to centralise the nut on the wheel. Just rotate the wheel to get the weight on different areas of the wheel. If you try and tighten up the nuts at this stage, the wheel will just turn, so we're just going to place the wheel back on the ground a bit. Start tightening up around all different places. This one's good, but I think it's a bit oversized. This is what size is this one? I can't see. 19, I think. I noticed one of the balances is missing from this tyre. I don't know whether it's fallen off or felled off. Okay, so as always in life, we never jump to conclusions. We're going to say that this just fell off, which is probably what happened. What I'll do now is check the brake pads on the other side of the car, and if it's all good, we'll leave the video at this stage, and I hope it helped out. Just one last thing, don't forget to remove the jack stand from under the car before you move it. Just say that again, don't forget to remove the jack stand from under the car before you drive it away. Oh, just one last thing, your brake pads could be different to the brake pads on this car, so if you're going to buy new brake pads, just get the wheel off and inspect the shape before you buy the new ones. You know, yours may be an older car or a newer car, or just simply have different brake pads. Remove any wheel chocks and anything under your car, anything you've used for securement, and you are good to go.